So last night on SmackDown, it was well, actually before then, it was rumored and then pretty much confirmed by WWE.com that Asuka was going to get a new women's championship presented to her, and this is said championship right here, if you will. But well, the championship over here on your left, I should say, is said championship, and a lot of people, of course, just like a week before, are kind of indifferent about it because they basically feel that it's lazy, or lazy, I guess you could say, creativity on WWE's part. Because all it is just the women's championship she had, the Raw Women's Championship, but now instead of red, it's gold plated. And, this has got people, speculating, okay, if you're doing this for Asuka, then what about Rhea? Rhea, of course, is the SmackDown Women's Champion over on Raw. What is she going to get? And a lot of people are pretty much already believing that she's either going to get a version like this, but with black straps, or even a red strap, or they're feeling she's going to get the women's equivalent of the World Championship that you see on your right. And if that's the case, then hey, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that if she gets a women's iteration of the World Heavyweight Championship that Seth Rollins has. I'm cool with that. And I'm sure anybody else would be. Because whether you like WWE or not and the decisions they're making, if they go the route that, some are speculating they might by, let's say, giving Asuka as you see right here on the, like I said, back on the right, giving Asuka that championship, which is identical except for the strap to what they gave Roman a week ago that you see on the bottom here, in the middle and on the bottom left. With it being identical to what Roman has, could they be doing the same for Rhea Ripley on Monday by giving her a women's championship, that's basically, in design, almost similar and identical to, the world title? Could that be what happens? We'll just have to tune in and see, because, because again, what I'm looking at here, and like I was saying before, I almost lost my train of thought there because it's early. It's about 9:20, and I'm trying to do this before my mom wakes up. But anyway, I think what they're trying to do, whether you like them or not, is they're trying to, at least under Triple H's rule, depending on how much rule and elbow room creatively he has, which I think is a lot more than people want to acknowledge. I think what they're trying to do is distinguish both brands by having championships that basically are associated with that brand. Like you look at the Intercontinental title and the U.S. title, completely different designs, so they're easy to transition over to different brands when the champion gets sent over to said brand via draft. Like Austin Theory got drafted over to SmackDown, Gunther over to Raw. And by doing so, they didn't have to swap titles. The titles were interchangeable, if you will. And I think that's what we're getting here. That basically what they're trying to do is prepare themselves for a future draft next year, to where if Seth goes over to SmackDown and Roman or whoever the undisputed champion of SmackDown goes over to Raw, then they don't have to worry about, let's say, they won't have to worry about basically, this championship being on the wrong brand or anything, because it's interchangeable. The same with the women's titles. What they're doing here is they're like, look, yes, we get it. It doesn't make sense that a Raw championship is on SmackDown and a SmackDown championship's on Raw. We get that. So what do? They're going to try to make up for that by avoiding that, if you will, and saying next year, with Rhea goes over to SmackDown and Asuka comes to Raw and they're still champions, or whoever the champions are, then guess what? They won't have to worry about SmackDown champion being on Raw or Raw champion being on SmackDown. The belts will be interchangeable. That's what mainly this is. It's outside of marketing and selling replicas and toy versions of the belts. That's obvious. You know, the when you really get down to it, it's all about interchangeable, basically avoiding any confusion. This is why when you look at what's going on with Ronda and Shayna and Alba Fire and Elsa Dawn, yes, we're going to get a unification match. Yes, more than likely Ronda and Shayna will probably win that, or Alba Fire and Elsa Dawn might win it. We don't know, but more than likely Ronda and Shayna. And if so, then hey, not only do you have one set of titles, maybe going to be replaced with a new design, maybe, we're not really sure. But not only do you get a new set of titles to go, not new set of titles, but not only do you get a singular championship, I should say, in the tag team division for the women, but you might get a singular championship, period. Championship belts, if you will. You might get singular championship titles in the place of the two that they're going to be holding. That's what I was trying to say. So, I get how people might feel it's lazy and everything, that WWE would basically use the same design that they used for the Undisputed title, the WWE title, and the SmackDown and Raw Women's titles, just to, I understand that they feel it's lazy for them just to, basically upgrade that or redesign that, give it a makeover, a new coat of paint. I get how people might feel it's lazy, and I understand that. But I think what's going on here, when you really look at it, I think what's going on is it's more of they're trying to distinguish both SmackDown and Raw as their own separate brands. And if what Nick Khan is saying is true about NXT and it going back to being a third brand, and you see the difference with their championships, how it distinguishes them from everybody else, then obviously, you kind of have to admit that it makes sense in a way as to kind of keep the same design that they've had previously for the other championship, for the other championship designs with the current ones, especially if you're just going to if you're going to single out, I should say, that championship design to be associated with said brand like SmackDown, and then another design, a newer design, like let's say the world title, to be associated and singled out as part of the Raw brand, which again, makes people wonder and it makes people curious and wonder if what happened on SmackDown last night is going to happen on Raw this Monday with Rhea, with her getting a new championship that's identical almost, if not similar, basically the women's equivalent of the world title, and thus being dubbed the Women's World Championship. Makes you wonder. It makes you wonder, but we'll have to see. If they don't change it, then obviously, that's going to make things a lot more confusing for people and everything, and it'll show that they don't really give a damn about the women's division. They don't. But the way I look at it, trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, is the fact that when you get down to it, they're trying to give each brand its own identity once again by giving them different identifiable championships that are associated with them, but also in the process allows those championships to be interchangeable. Again, let's say in the future they do another draft, and whoever the world champion is on Raw goes to SmackDown, and whoever the undisputed champion is goes to Raw. Then there's no confusion. There's no like, the world title's a Raw championship, or the undisputed title is a SmackDown championship. No, these championships will be interchangeable. They will be interchangeable. No matter what the situation. Same with the women's championships. If they go down the route that people are believing they're going to go down with Rhea Ripley on Monday, and give her basically the female equivalent of Seth Rollins' world title, and everything, called the Women's World Championship, and that's gonna be fun. And obviously, that's gonna be a good move on their part, whether you like it or not, because what it does is it makes those championships interchangeable as well, and helps them to be identified with the brand they're going to be on. Like right now, the world title is identified as a Raw title, but as I said, if Seth goes over to SmackDown, or whoever the world champion is at the time of the next draft happens goes over to SmackDown, the world title becomes a SmackDown title, and the Undisputed title, as a result, goes over to Raw. It becomes a Raw title. End of story. Same with the women's championship. If whoever the women's champion is, right now that has, the belt that you see on the left that Asuka got presented with, whoever has that in going into next year's draft goes to Raw, and whoever has the women's world championship, or basically the Raw equivalent of that, because that's what people feel they're going to do, goes over to SmackDown. Then there won't be any kind of confusion to go along with it, because yes, right now you could say that these titles, as I mentioned, are identified to their brands, but they're interchangeable to where if they swap over, they can instantly be identified as that brand's championship, going forward. As convoluted as that may have sounded, and people do complain about WWE being convoluted in some of the decisions. It does kind of pretty much make sense when you get down to it. It does feel like what they're doing on the SmackDown side of things right now is completely lazy, and what they're doing on the Raw side seems more fresher and innovative, and more like, yeah, we get it. We got to put more time and detail in this. It's it's understandable to this sense how people feel about that way, but again, it's all being done when you get down to it. It's all being done basically to give each brand its own identifiable championships, and not only identifiable, but also interchangeable. That's why this is being done. It's not being done because they're lazy in the design and all that. It's being done because they want to give each brand an identity. And for SmackDown, they're gonna go with the design that's been around since basically 2013 when The Rock introduced it. So they're gonna go with that. For the Raw side, they're gonna try to be a little bit more different. They're gonna try to give it an identity again, try to get it back to its status quo as being the flagship. So they're gonna put more effort into the redesigns of the championships over there. Basically, that's at the end of the day, that's what this all is. Like I said, it's not just about marketing. It's not just about selling replicas and toy versions and all that. No, it is basically about giving each brand its own identity. You look at NXT, and despite how you might have felt about NXT and everything, it looks like it's trying to find its stride again. But despite how you felt about it, guess what? What has made it, indistinguishable, identifiable to a lot of people? Its championships. Each of its championships have a different look, have a different feel than what you see, on Raw and SmackDown. More specifically, their main title, their main world title. So when you look at, what they're doing here on the main roster, you can kind of see that they're trying to do that. They're trying to, do the same thing. They're trying to basically give each brand their own identifiable championships that are associated with said brand, but also in the long run, mostly for the main roster outside of NXT, can be interchangeable, if you know what I mean. They can be interchangeable. So, again, I get people feeling that it's lazy, they should put more effort. I understand that, but it's all about, being identifiable and indistinguishable. Basically giving both brands an identity that, will be less confusing, and basically, create more interest and intrigue into the brand itself, as well as into the championships associated with that brand. And let's not also forget either, sometimes these designs that we get, these designs are not just a WWE call, they're also a network call. So, SmackDown keeping the same design that's been around for over a decade, with a little bit of a tweak here and there, that could be a Fox call outside of a WWE call. Raw getting a brand new championship, basically a hybrid, of the big gold and winged eagle and all that. That's that's not just a WWE call. That's a USA call. So honestly, we we have to really kind of consider that as a reasoning too. It's not just a WWE call; it's a network call. And basically, the networks want to have championships that identify the show that they're airing as being different from each other. So in a way, it's like a 50-50 decision. But again, like I said, I get why people might feel on the SmackDown side it's lazy, and why there's more effort being put onto the Raw side. I get that. But again, I know I'm repeating myself here, but it's all about being identifiable. It's all about giving an identity to the brand, as well as making the championships that'll be associated with those brands interchangeable during future, let's say, trades or drafts. So that way there's less confusion and less questions being asked as to why this title is on this brand when it's supposed to be over here. So again, I get where people are coming from. I get where they might feel confused, where they might feel things are getting lazy on one side but not on the other. But again, it's all about creating an identity and basically making things interchangeable when the time presents itself. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about how do you feel about WWE going in that direction, trying to basically, in my opinion, just create a separate identity for each brand with the way they present these new titles and stuff? Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment if you like. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Super chats and stickers. And yeah, super chats and stickers are open in the live chat during the premiere, as well as super thanks afterwards. But check me out at my Teespring store as well, which you can click on in the display, in the title display at the beginning of the video, where it says shop, or click on in the description. That'll help me out tremendously, guys, as well as also check out my BW Rosas Discussions podcast at all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. But mostly check it out at Spotify. The more you listen to me on Spotify, the more it'll get me to 100 listeners to open up the ambassador ad on my podcast to earn stuff financially there. But guys, really, that's all I'm going to say. Again, I do apologize. I should say that if it sounded like I was rambling, being repetitive, it's early. I'm trying to do this before my mom gets up. It's Saturday, so. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are overall. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. And until next time, I am out.